In 1992, the newly expansion team, the Orlando Magic, struck gold with the first overall pick in the NBA draft, drafting Shaquille O'Neal, one of the greatest players in NBA history and arguably the most dominant. His impact on the court was almost felt immediately, with him having one of the greatest rookie seasons in NBA history. But this didn't lead to much success. And that success came shortly after drafting Penny Hardaway, one of the most interesting players in NBA history, with him playing amazing in his first couple of seasons, but his career being cut short due to injury. And the duo saw some great short-term success with him making a finals appearance, but ultimately never winning a championship. So Shaq decided to sign him with the LA Lakers and go on to win a whole bunch of championships. Then, after a couple of disappointing years and a weird stint with Tracy McGrady, the 2004 Magic struck gold with drafting another big man with the first overall pick in Dwight Howard, one of the best defensive players ever. And also like Shaq, Dwight was surrounded with a whole bunch of talent from names like Jameer Nelson and Vince Carter, JJ Redick, and even sadly I was prime Rashard Lewis. But they did make a finals appearance, but they never won anything. So Dwight decided to pack his bags and head to LA. And in 2022, once again the Magic had the first overall pick and they took Paolo Banchero. But fortunately for us, he's still on our team. And after his great rookie campaign, he should be a generational player. And then there's our best player, arguably as of now, with Franz Wagner, who can do literally anything on the basketball court. Well, he is pretty young though, so he still needs a couple of years to really reach his full potential. Then there's our starting point guard, Markelle Fultz, who had one of the weirdest starts to the NBA career, but he's really picked up things and become one of the most underrated players in the league in my opinion. Then there's another one of our point guards slash shooting guards with Jalen Suggs. I think he still has a lot of potential, but his first 2 years in the league haven't been great. Then there's Wendell Carter Jr., who is undersized at the center position, but he's good at everything, not great, but I don't think he'll be the long-term solution for us. Another one of our combo guard type players, Cole Anthony, who's been pretty good his first couple years in the league, and I can see him as a really good six-man for us. Then there's Jonathan Isaac, who at one point was one of the best defensive players in all of basketball, which I still believe he can be, but after a lot of injury history, I don't know how much more time he has left, and his jump shot has always been a really big question mark with this game. Then there's our backup center, Mo Wagner. I mean, he's decent. He's a pretty good stretch five, but he's not great at anything. And then there's our two rookies, Anthony Black, which is another one of our guards. But I can see him as like a taller Rajon Rondo. And then there's Jett Howard, who I feel like he'd be a great 3D player in this league, sort of a Jonathan Isaac replacement. So after those introductions, here's what our rotation's gonna look like for season 1, with us running a 10-man rotation with the minutes, being very spread out. And as we start the simulation, you'll actually be able to see us at first above 500 for the first time in a very long time down here in Orlando. But we kind of come back down to earth before the trade deadline, kind of really going on a long losing streak. But I mean, it's to be figured in a tough Eastern Conference. And you could see us tightly contested as the 10th seed right here. And if you look at the stats so far, Paolo Banchero has been better than he was in his rookie season, at least efficiency-wise. Franz Wagner has kind of taken a step back, at least scoring-wise, but his assist numbers have went up and his efficiency is still pretty good. And then there's our starting point guard, Markelle Fultz, who's averaging about 14 and 7.5 assists on decent efficiency, which is good. Cole Anthony, who isn't shooting the best, but he's still good off the bench. Wendell, who's just kind of been mid as our center. Jalen Suggs, who is shooting horribly from the field. But then there's Anthony Black, who's actually shooting better than Jalen Suggs, so that's interesting. And Jett Howard, who is also shooting better than Jalen Suggs. And then we can look at Jonathan Isaac. He's still playing well defensively, but offensively he doesn't bring much to the table. And Mo Wagner is actually shooting 40% for 3, which is great. But as you can see, we still have a logjam at the guard position. So I decided to make a trade, go ahead and get Jalen Suggs out of here, and at least get some value for him and get a decent backup center in Charles Bassey and a second-round pick. And also, I decided to trade Jonathan Isaac to the Timberwolves for some future draft capital and some expiring contracts. And here's our updated rotation with more of our young guys getting more minutes with the departure of Jalen Suggs and Jonathan Isaac. And as we simulate the rest of the season, we see it goes about how it was, going into the trade deadline, with us being a little bit under 500 and a very tight Eastern Conference, but it's to be expected especially at this state of our team. And in some more positive news, we see Anthony Black make the all-rookie first team with some really good efficiency. And if we look at our season stats, no one's numbers really changed that much. And if we look at the end of season standings, we don't make the playoffs, and somehow Trae Young and the Atlanta Hawks won the NBA Finals. But on the next season, as you can see, we have the 8th overall pick in this upcoming year's draft, which I use it on this Zachary, I'm not even gonna try to pronounce the last name, guy. He seems, really good at everything, kind of the same vein as Mo Wagner, so hopefully he can be a good contributor for us. And as you can see at team player options, we bring everyone back, and we're looking to bring Cole Anthony back in free agency as well. And along with Cole Anthony, we have to bring Markelle Fultz back on pretty team-friendly deals, and I'm glad we got that done. So morale is kind of down right now after the first season, but hopefully things can turn around quick with the new offseason addition of our new rookie, who can immediately come in and put the ball in the basket for us, which is important for a struggling offensive team like us. And with some more minutes freed up, from the departures from the other guys last season, this is what our rotation is going to look like for season number 2. And besides the sort of rocky start we have to season number 2, you'll see that we're actually, there's a turning point for us, and we're making a comeback and a pretty marginal jump from last season, with us being about 8 games over 500 at the trade deadline, and with us having a guaranteed playoff spot right now, with us being the 6th seed. And if we look at our season stats so far, we see Franz Wagner taking a scoring lead, efficient wise and volume wise, with Paolo kind of hovering around the same scoring numbers and efficiency, but he's still great. And there's Cole Anthony, who is playing a lot better than last season, being more efficient. Markelle Fultz is still bringing his great playmaking. Jet Howard and Anthony Black both contributing and improving in every facet. Then there's our starting center, Wendell Carter, who really isn't doing much for us, but our rookie is actually shooting very efficiently and averaging a respectable 9 points. And our backup bigs are, not really doing much in their limited role, as to be expected. And as we simulate past the trade deadline, you can see that our season so far is not a fluke, and we keep up sort of the same pace, and we actually make the playoffs for the first time since, I believe, 2019, when they actually stole a game off the eventual NBA champion Toronto Raptors. Shout out Nikola Jokic. And we see our rookie on All-NBA second team, with him being very, very efficient for a rookie and playing very well with his per 36 minutes. And the only big difference in the season stats is Franz Wagner's scoring output kind of went down. And in the first round, we're going to be taking on the Toronto Raptors, who actually have Paul George and Jaylen Brown somehow now, with an ever-proving Scottie Barnes. And after game 1, we see the Raptors win a pretty close game, with Paolo playing terribly, shooting 4 for 19. Then game 2, Scottie Barnes having a great game, and Paolo actually played better, but they just seem better than us right now. Paolo kind of struggled again, and Cole Anthony and the rookie, basically everyone on the team, with us shooting 7, only a terrible percentage from 3. And then, the inevitable happens. We get swept after a pretty great game from Franz, but Paolo only shot 12 shots for some reason, so that's not good for us. And Grady Dick hitting 9 3-pointers in his limited role. He's great. And the Raptors actually lose in the finals to the eventual champ, Houston Rockets. And as you can see in the upcoming draft lottery, we have a whole bunch of draft candidates, so I decided to trade up with the Wizards to get a top draft pick and select the center, which it looks like he has a lot of potential, but he has a very weird name, so I'm just going to call him BB for the rest of the video. Pause, maybe. And you can see us signing him here and bringing back everyone at team player options, and of course extending one of arguably our best player in Franz Wagner to not a supermax, because 2K doesn't allow that, but the closest thing to a supermax that 2K will allow, and to bring back Cole Anthony on a pretty team-friendly contract. But per usual, 2K has to be weird and not let Franz accept his extension yet, so I decided to go out and sign an all-star in Lauri Markkanen, but not for us to use, because we already have a lot of good forwards in Franz and Paolo and Jet Howard, brain fart. So I decided to change to the Detroit Pistons along with our rookie and the rookie from last year, for Anthony Davis so we can get a actual really good center now and really solidify the paint. Then I was looking around the league at teams that could potentially need a new starting center, and Herb Jones has been playing the best for the Pelicans recently, so I decided to go out and trade for him. And now with our complete revamped lineup, this is what our rotation is going to look like for season number 3. And with our new acquisitions, we seem to actually take another jump even from last season's playoff run to where we're arguably the best team in the league right now, with us being first in power rank and the first in this brutal Eastern Conference, and us already having 43 wins at the trade deadline, having the best offense and one of the best defenses, which is great for us. Paolo has embraced his superstar role, averaging 25 now, 25, 9, and 6, which is great. Franz doing his thing, shooting amazing from the field. Anthony Davis, who has taken a step back scoring, but he is 32 at this point, and we do have a lot of mouths to feed. Markelle Fultz, who's still being one of the best playmakers in the NBA, along with his, good scoring punch. There's Anthony Black, who actually might be better than Fultz at this point, but he's still a really good player off the bench for us. Cole Anthony, who is really efficient as like a J.R. Smith type of six-man for us. Herb Jones has gotten his efficiency up, all of his scoring numbers up too. Jet Howard, who was shooting the lights out from 3, which is good to see. And Charles Bassey, in his limited role is not doing much, but he's not playing that much. And as we look to end the regular season, we're actually one of the best teams of all time if you look record-wise, with us winning a total of 67 games. With Trae Young still winning MVP somehow. I guess he's insane. But we see Paolo on the All-NBA team, All-NBA third team for the first time, and we're going to be taking on the Cleveland Cavaliers in the first round, which is kind of scary for us because they're usually really good in 2K, but game 1 we take after a really good all-around performance from everyone, and we see Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell doing everything they can to carry the Cavs, but the same type of thing in game 2. Our guys didn't really shoot the best from the field, but we outscored them, so that's all that matters. Game 3 we also take, and at this point it just seems like we're the better team. Their guys aren't really, they're not neutralized, but they're not scoring as much as they would like to, and we end up sweeping them. And in round 2 we're going to be taking on the Brooklyn Nets, who seem to be pretty good, with Mikal actually playing insane in the playoffs, with them shooting over 50% from 3 while averaging almost 30 points. But we do end up taking game 1 to shootout, 143 to 137 after a 41-point game from AD. And Mikal having an all-time great playoff performance, with them making 11 3-pointers. And after game 2, we see Franz have an excellent game efficiency-wise, only taking 16 shots, but having 39 odd points. Game 3, we see Mikal actually, kind of come down to earth and, not be the greatest player of all time. And we win, and more could be said in game 4, with him just at this point probably exhausted from carrying the Brooklyn Nets, with all of our guys playing great. Then in the Eastern Conference Finals, we're taking on the league MVP in Trae Young, and somehow they got Devin Vassell and Gary Trent Jr., and Isaiah Stewart, which is actually really good players to put around Trae Young. And so we see game 1 we take a pretty close game. Game 2, we finally lose a playoff game, with Herb Jones being our lead scorer, which should tell you something about our team, with their 3-point shooting being insane, and us scarily losing game 3 with an insane double-double from Trae Young. Game 4, we pick up where we left off in game 1. We actually win, hold the Hawks to only 89 points, which is good to see. Game 5, we win. And at this point, it really looks like we should, be heading to the NBA Finals, even after a really rough game from Anthony Davis, but still a good game from Trae Young. But we do end up losing game 6, which at this point, I'm pretty nervous for our guys, even though, this was a pretty close game and it seemed like we should have came out on top, and we lose. Oh, sorry. That was a error in the video. We actually win. We actually beat them. And so in the finals, we're going to be taking on the Houston Rockets, who still have Fred VanVleet and somehow Brandon Ingram, and still have their core of Jalen Green, Amen Thompson, Jabari Smith, and Sengun. But we win game 1, and we also win game 2, and you could probably see where this is going right about now. We win game 3, and we're just dominating the series even after another shootout in game 3 with, no team ever come back from 3-0. And yeah, we see our main guy, Paolo, dribble out the ball to win the Orlando Magic our first NBA championship in franchise history. And shout out to you if you're still watching the video. I really appreciate, your viewership, all your love and support. And yeah, we see our guys finally do it. And AD winning his first finals MVP, I guess. And I don't really know what else to say. Until next time.